Well, welcome back to Orchestra Biomed's channel, accelerating the delivery of medical innovations to patients through risk-reward sharing partnerships to discuss the AVIM therapy, what's been going on with the FDA, and so much more in between. Obviously, David Hochman, the CEO and founder, joining us as always. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Kyle.
Always a pleasure. And just diving right into this, I wouldn't mind kind of getting into the recent developments of the AVIM therapy within respect to the partnership of Medtronic, including the expansion of eligibility for the Backbeat pivotal study. Maybe break this down for us.
Sure. A few key developments. Medtronic, our strategic partner for AVIM therapy, one of their innovations has been to bring leadless pacemakers to the market. And one of the things that we were excited to announce recently, and really at the same time we announced our major financing, was that we and Medtronic have agreed to expand our collaboration to provide a pathway for future integration of AVIM therapy into next generation leadless pacemakers, in particular next generation dual chamber leadless pacemakers. And so understanding leadless pacemakers offer potential advantages to patients and physicians. They actually get implanted in the heart as opposed to externally, and then there's electrodes into the heart, so they're less invasive. Therefore, there's some reduced patient risk. So this is really a technology that would make pacing more appealing to patients, potentially available to more patients. You combine that with our therapy, which then converts the pacemaker into a potent treatment for hypertensive heart disease, for uncontrolled hypertension in increased risk patients. We think this is a strong indicator of our view, of our and Medtronic's view, that AVIM could offer real value to patients, both in the pacemaker population and potentially beyond. And so that was a new development. Future work that will be undertaking. The real focus right now is executing the trial, as you mentioned, the Backbeat trial. And there was also a significant development we announced recently. We're rolling out an update to the protocol for the Backbeat trial that was approved in the second quarter by FDA, that significantly expands eligibility criteria. We've modified the protocol now twice in combination. It's a over 24-fold increase in the pool of eligible patients at participating sites. I really think it reflects now a real-world population that shows the population that can benefit from the therapy. So we're hoping that's going to help us to get enrollment completed, which is one of our key goals, and to get the data we need to our Medtronic to file for approval and ultimately commercialize the therapy. So continue to hit key milestones, continue to work closely and productively with Medtronic, and our whole focus now that we have the resources from our recent financing is execution of the study and moving the therapy forward to its full potential.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the insight there. And I wouldn't mind looking back a little bit as well, because there was a publication that kind of highlighted some key data from the AVIM clinical therapy. Do you want to talk about what that kind of meant and what was in that publication?
Sure. Recently, there was some data that was generated in AVIM therapy in patients with diastolic dysfunction. That data was accepted as a peer-reviewed paper in JACC Advances, a nice journal. And the data really reflects, we talk about treating hypertensive heart disease. So this is hypertension and its impact in older, higher risk patients on not just blood pressure and risk of heart attack and stroke, but really overworking the heart and driving that heart towards heart failure. And one of the things that happens in these patients, these older patients, is they develop a condition called diastolic dysfunction. And really, to simplify that, the heart needs to be able to beat constantly. And part of that beat, or the function of the heart, is being able to relax the key chambers of the heart, the ventricles, relax and passively fill before the active systolic contraction. And unfortunately, with age, and particularly driven by high blood pressure, the ventricle becomes hypertrophic or stiff and essentially loses that ability to relax and to passively fill. And that's part of undermining its ability and eventually driving heart failure. And so you have hypertension, high blood pressure, and then a stiffer ventricle working against each other. So this data really showed that in patients in our key randomized pilot study, the Moderato 2 trial, about 2/3 of them had diastolic dysfunction based on echocardiographic data. And what the paper talks about is AVIM therapy's ability not just to lower blood pressure in those patients, but actually to significantly improve key measures of diastolic dysfunction or diastolic of ventricular function. So the passive or the relaxation of the heart got better, and that passive filling got better. And typically that doesn't really happen. Progression moves in one direction. So AVIM therapy's potential to benefit hypertensive heart disease patients, both to prevent progression to heart failure and potentially also treat heart failure, is demonstrated by this diastolic dysfunction data, amongst other data. And it's always great to see the data get accepted by a strong peer-reviewed journal. That really means that it's met key scientific criteria. And we're excited to see that in print. We think it's going to be helpful to get the word out in terms of the potential of this therapy to have impact on high-need patients.
On that, as always, we'll pass it off to the viewers. We'd love to know what you think, but consider subscribing for Catalyst news like this as it comes down the wire. Of course, we'll bring it to you here. But on that, as always, we look forward to catching you in the next one.